awesome fun, mate. Do you remember the first time you heard that song?
No, I don't remember the first time I heard the Trooper, the record, that is. I remember the first time I saw them play it live.
Which was when? 2011, when we took you to the O2?
Yep, my first concert.
Awesome. Awesome. My first concert's AC/DC. And I think it means that you saw Maiden the first time at 12.
Yes, 12 years old.
And I didn't see them till I was 15. But obviously a long, long time ago.
So yeah, what year was that?
83.
How does Iron Maiden in 2012 compare to 83 as an experience, as a live concert?
Wow, what a great question. It's still hugely important to me. Like, very, very special. And I love wearing the colours and being part of it.
Mm-hmm.
That sense of team
Yeah.
with the band. It's difficult to replicate what it felt like as a 15-year-old going to Hammersmith Odeon, which was grimy and gritty.
Yeah.
And everyone there was an older guy in a black leather jacket or a denim jacket with patches.
And undoubtedly a scary experience before you've even got to the Hammersmith Odeon, because that probably would have been one of the first times that you were taking yourself out with your mates.
I've been out to London plenty of times, but not at night. Not to go somewhere like that. And Hammersmith was pretty dingy back in the day. And it's a real sense of, you still get it, that sense of event. This is a thing that's going to happen.
Totally, anticipation.
Yeah. Oh man, it was probably a school night as well. and we were really about 10, 12 rows back. And I'd learned by that point, I've been to a couple of gigs, that you wanted to be downstairs because you wanted the light show.
Yeah.
You wanted this sense of the band.
Uh-huh.
And I often talk about it because that night I was there is side 4 of Live After Death.
Right. Okay. So you were there at that record.
Yeah.
Because this is something that I always think about Iron Maiden, is that I think with my gateway drug, as we're talking about the Trooper today, we'll talk about gateway drugs, but my gateway drug was Flight 666, that live album, and then I went back and listened to Live After Death. And there's something about the energy of live records that was what was pulling me into Iron Maiden at the time, and especially because by that point, Live After Death was the first live record, right?
The first Maiden live record.
Yeah, the first Maiden live record.
Well, actually, technically, there's probably an EP, which is live.
Right, okay. But very early on in their career, right?
Show my age and lack of memory. Maiden Japan, I think, was a live EP recorded before Live After Death. But as like a moment, as a big, everyone got behind it, Live After Death, it was their first, yeah.
So this is why that's important in the context, because you going to that concert, you wouldn't have had the live record to learn how to sing all the bits and bobs and know the audience interaction. My first time going to Iron Maiden, I knew when we sing Fear of the Dark, and I knew when we go da-na-na, hey! And all of that stuff, because I'd listened to the live record, so I'd learned my part. You know, and that's the bit that you didn't get.
Really interesting. I don't think I even knew Dr. Doctor would start the set.
Right, okay. And then you hear that, and you're like, what's this?
You and I have a very special relationship with that song, but I don't think I even knew that started the set. That was all. We didn't even know what the set was.
Yeah.
Didn't know what the set was. So the first 3, I talk about it a lot because I think it's one of the most amazing musical experiences of my life. Was Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, The Trooper. Just back to back. Bruce didn't speak. It was just boom. But you just felt this visceral force. I think they probably played them all in about 10 minutes.
Right, yeah.
Just this huge wave of energy.
Ploughing through it.
Yeah, and I wasn't going regularly to football then, so I hadn't experienced that in any other environment. Mm-hmm. And in that sense, they were very different to AC/DC. AC/DC had that crowd and that thing and the energy.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a huge number of similarities between the two bands. There are reasons why they're my 2 favourite bands.
Totally.
But there was nothing like that. Just bang. You were just thrown back, and then like some kind of like octopus had grabbed you, you were just dragged back into it.
Yeah, totally. That's that. I mean, that's like a transcendental experience, right? And that's why live music versus a record is such a completely different thing. So that's why I'm excited for us to talk today about the record of the Trooper, because I think as we talk about this, we're going to discover loads of things that I don't understand yet, or I haven't quite got, because my route into Iron Maiden was all about that live experience that you're describing there. That by the time that we get to 2011, music recording has managed to capture, but that's not something that you could experience in the 80s. So you fell in love with the record, then you went to see them.
Well, yes, but I think, and this is particularly true of, I think there were three broad gateway drugs to Maiden.
Right.
Run to the Hills, the Trooper, and Wasted Years. They're the ones sorry?
2 Minutes to Midnight.
Maybe. I think 2 Minutes to Midnight's a harder song for people to grasp immediately. But we'll talk about that one day. Those three songs for me are the gateway drugs, and what was particularly true about Run to the Hills and the Trooper were they had videos which, for all this thing about Maiden and Eddie and the kind of darker, horror imagery, those videos were funny and quirky at the same time as the band in action. And I think, we didn't really have MTV in quite the same way in the UK, but watching those videos was part of, this band speaks to me. They get me. They're funny. They're funny and serious at the same time, and they take what they do seriously, but they can do it with a smile.
Well, there's that innate Britishness to it, right? There's a tiny hint of sarcasm, especially in the music videos, like in "Can I Play with Madness?" The whole narrative of the public school teacher that goes on a spiritual experience in the caves of, I want to say, Bolton Abbey or somewhere like that. Where do you know where that was filmed?
It's Tintern Abbey,
and
right. not to go too far down our rabbit hole, of course, but it's Graham Chapman who's the schoolmaster for Monty Python, and of course Maiden leave to always look on the bright side of life, a Monty Python song. But I didn't even know that the first time I went to see them. So that some of those bits of folklore, those acts of worship. Yeah. When you go into this kind of the Church of Iron Maiden, didn't know the first time in that way, because I've never been before. All right, so we're going to have a go. We're going to, look, that you and I are doing this in part because we see all these people reacting to this music we love, and that's glorious, and we love everybody for reacting positively to this music that we love. But we want to do reactions about it because we love it already, and we think there's a place for us to say that our reactions have some value and insight in this world.
So, and I think a final part of important context in that, yes, we do love it, but you and I are coming from very, very different angles on this, right? So you grew up with Iron Maiden. I then in turn grew up with Iron Maiden because you introduced it to me. But at that point we went in different paths into the fact that I owe somewhat of my the fact that I'm a professional musician now to the fact that I listen to Iron Maiden. I also owe it to a lot of other influences in my life, but especially the fact that I'm still playing guitar, and that is my main vocation and practice and profession. I owe that to Iron Maiden. So it's kind of I'm coming full circle here because I staunchly remember staunchly announcing to my dad that I'll never be a funk guitarist. I will never play funk. I'll never play soul. Because it's Iron Maiden all the way through. I'm now a funk and soul guitarist, that's what I do. But I'm coming back to Iron Maiden, having had, probably 10 years away from listening to them intensely. So I'm wondering what I'm going to discover on coming back to them now.
Yeah, and I think there's always value in a moderately deep dive. So let us get ourselves set. Already, just there's just so much immediately, right? We've got the You've got this riff that just grabs you. Then you get the harmony, and then you get Nico's bit.
Totally. So the classic Maiden straight away. The two guitars in harmony, adding to that like almost orchestral theme to it. It feels so big and large compared to riffs from other bands preceding Iron Maiden that were either like played together in unison, or there was one guitar riff where you couldn't get that depth of sound. Maiden add that like almost symphonic element to it, which is really exciting. And they also, they do it in such a way where you get the main riff and then the harmonies added. So it's always building, and then, like you said, when Nico comes in, it's so good. It's just it's engaging and bright, and just captures you straight away.
Right, and they know it's good, but they're gonna put it to one side to go to the bit that becomes more memorable.
The next iconic Maiden thing, right? The gallop.
Yeah. No. The motif that's around this riff. Let's go back to the start. So you're right, it is the gallop, but for me it's that twin guitar part that's playing. It feels like a kind of like a bit of Vivaldi with violins.
Yeah. It is. It's again symphonic, right? We've got that. The gallop is coming from Steve, and it's really interesting that we'll get points later when the guitars join Steve in that gallop. Steve is dung 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 dung, and I'm sure that the drums are going like like that. Steve and Nico working together, right? And I think this is going to be a reoccurring thing that we talk about, is that like the guitars are their own thing, but actually it's always comes down to Steve and Nico, which could be argued of any record. I think it's I'm going to give you a football analogy here. Right.
Steve and Nico are the defence, so the two central defenders.
Yeah.
Like without them being like this.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how good you are up front, you're going to be found out and concede goals. And their relationship and ability to play off one another is that defence. And then Dave and Adrian are the kind of creative midfielders.
Totally.
They're only able to do what they do because the foundation is so solid.
Absolutely. Which is why you get this flying, soaring, symphonic riff over the top again in that classic Maiden harmony, which is actually, it's quite hard to play. I can't really do it. I'll have a go now.
God.
It's about getting that trill.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as Nico would say, I won't.
See, already wrong. It's really hard to get that. So actually, it turns out I can do it, but not very cleanly, and that's why it's so remarkable of them, because they're doing it faster than I'm doing there, and in harmony, so they've got to be synced up right together. So there's a lot of moving parts here, right? And that's why the bit that we're about to get to, this antithesis between, we've had this long, galloping, soaring riff, and now we're going to get this really tight focus into Bruce's vocal. Final thing to mention there is that I think that the synchronicity between the fact that the Charge of the Light Brigade visuals are galloping horses as well here.
Yeah, well, they knew they had a gallop, and then they wrote a song which utterly embodies that gallop.
Totally.
And it's really interesting. And you're right. Then we get this moment.
Take my life, but I'll take yours too. You fire musket, but I'll run you through. So when you're waiting for the next attack, you better stand. There's no turning back. The bugle sounds when time begins.
I just think Nico totally owns that moment.
It's funk music. They're going da na na na. It's groovy. It's cheeky, and it's got soul to it.
That's interesting because I think you're half right in that this and funk have the same antecedent, and it's blues. This is the call and response of the blues.
Totally, yeah.
And yet, what Maiden have done, and particularly Bruce, is they've just kind of ratcheted that up and put it into a new narrative context of the charge of the Light Brigade. And I remember, this is really important, as a teenage boy, this felt like a boy's own adventure story. I was completely entranced by the fact that there were songs that weren't "Baby, I Love You," and they have their place, and I love many of those too. But this was a story. Bruce was going to tell me a story. The first line, "You take my life, but I'll take yours too." Like, I got that as a narrative device. I was completely sucked in.
Also providing a nice juxtaposition to the theme of like love that comes throughout lots of popular music. This is history. This is culture. This is heritage, and it's engaging in a way. It's engaging that young audience with our history as well, right? Which is really exciting compared to "Baby, I Love You."
And also, of course, this is based on a Tennyson poem.
I didn't know that. Right, tell me about that.
Based on the Tennyson poem, "Charge of the Light Brigade." So you've got this really nerdy schoolboy thing, which none of them except Bruce is.
Right.
Steve, I think one of the things that's always underestimated about Steve Harris is he's kind of polymath. He's interested in loads of things that he didn't gain from academia. He gained them because he's just a curious mind.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Anyway, we're going to go back because I can't hear that moment where it's all that call and response. It's really tense, and then Nico unleashes the horses with that fill.
So when you're waiting for the next attack, you better stand, there's no turning back. The bugle sounds, the charge begins. But on this battlefield, no one wins. The smell of iron smoke and horses' breath as a virgin into sudden death.
I want to talk about that chant bit there because you said that you'd seen live Flight 666, so you knew what to do.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, but I'd never seen them. I'd never been to a gig. I'd only seen this video 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And yet it felt completely natural to be with 3,000 other people and to do that chant.
And you knew that was coming too.
It was so blindingly obvious that that's what we were going to do.
Right, okay.
And I think, so I draw this parallel between AC/DC and Iron Maiden and many of the other bands that I love. This is not true of The Trooper, by the way, but there are many times that a song doesn't quite work on the album in its totality. Like, it's good and you like bits of it and the production's fantastic.
Yeah.
But it doesn't quite work until you put it in front of a live audience and it comes to life. And I think there's something about they know how to write in anticipation of how the audience is going to behave.
Totally, and that's something that they become known for. At least, I'm sure in the general Maiden zeitgeist, but also in terms of, for me, this assumption that rock music and metal is aggressive and it's exclusive and you don't know how to get into it and it's horribly macho and masculine and all of these things. It's theatre. This is pompous and melodramatic. And we know that bit's coming, that all of these big, scary, hairy men are going to go, whoa, and sing their heart out.
I had this, when we used to go to gigs with my mates, a dad would come to pick us up at the tube station afterwards to drive us home.
Okay.
And I have this really vivid memory of one of the dads telling me once about how great Cats was, because it was all this production, everyone was dressed up, and I just said to him, you need to go to see Iron Maiden, Ron, because it's the same thing.
Yeah.
There's this stage set, there are these costumes, but the difference is you guys sit in your seats. When you're at a Maiden gig, you're out of your seats, you're in it, you are part of the performance.
Yes, it's way more inclusive than a song about a fucking cat on a train station. Honestly, if there's a bit of core lore that we can set up in this YouTube channel that I can't stand Andrew Lloyd Webber, then I'd be very happy.
You'd be very happy to see him on the end of this charge, which is sweeping across our screens now.
Only because I'm a theatre guitarist and I've had to work in a fair amount of Andrew Lloyd Webber.
This is one for anyone.
All of that cat stuff. You can make cool because... Why is it cool? Why is Cats cool? Because I played it having listened to Iron Maiden, so I knew what he was trying to do.
Bonus point for anyone in the comments who can name an Andrew Lloyd Webber song with a gallop in it. Right, let's get back into it. I just want to stop for a second because I think I'm going to make an observation about Iron Maiden and this song, which is probably true for all popular music, but because I listened to this band more than anybody else, always strikes me. This second time round with the gallop, and it's not like I've not heard this song many times before, but the second time round it's got a certain swing to it. Right, you've got it. You've got the rhythm. It's somehow inhabited you.
Yeah.
And they might well have changed. You'd be well placed to know. Have they changed anything subtly here? For the second verse?
Not on paper. You wouldn't see anything different on paper here. But that's there's a lot of these ineffable things in music that we describe. Well, that we can't describe actually. The energy is completely different. You're totally right. There's more power behind it that you couldn't really write down in terms of dynamic markings or anything like that. There's a slightly different energy here. They're more excited. They're excited that they're coming back to this bit.
Yeah. Do you not think though it's in your face at the start, and now it's a bit more. It's more self-aware of its power. It knows it's powerful. It's It's actually a bit more confident. It's got a certain swagger to it.
Totally. If we're going with the charging horses analogy, then the horses are well into their charge right now.
Yes,
they're at full speed.
In their stride.
They've hit their terminal velocity.
Yeah, they're in their stride, and you can feel it.
Totally. This bit that we're about to get when we get to the guitar solos, that's when they hit the wall of troops that they're charging at. Right. That's when the chaos begins. But before that point, we've started charging. And then we've had the chorus, and then we're back into the verse, and they're at full pelt by this point.
Yeah, and you can feel us. We're highly, even though we're stopping and starting, which is not the way to listen to this song. I encourage you all to listen to what we're saying and then go back and find your own moments in it.
Absolutely.
But it's hard not to be adrenalised by this song.
Yeah, completely.
I'm not sure. We'd have to go back and look at some of the other stuff, but for that, the iconicness of the foot on the monitors.
Yeah.
For them both.
But look at that rig, just on that screenshot we've got there. Look at the truss, all of those lights. This isn't a gig, is it? This is a soundstage that they filmed this on.
Yeah, but that's what the set looked like.
Right, totally. And they've even got this. So this is the thing that I remember when you were asking me at the beginning, do I remember the first time I heard the Trooper? No. But I remember them finishing 2 minutes to midnight, and then they pull that curtain across. And still in 2011, and still now, I believe that they've still got those massive material drapes with the sets, which are the album covers and the concept photos behind it. And all the roadies they pull them across as they go. Interestingly enough, that's the peace of mind, Eddie. that's not the trooper that they have on stage. So that clearly came afterwards. Otherwise, they would have had the trooper with the flag, right? Also, Bruce isn't wearing the military jacket.
No, he had this whole kind of Harlequin vibe going on, which is really interesting because this is contemporaneous to a prog rock band called Marillion,
Right.
who had the Harlequin as their equivalent of Eddie.
Okay.
He was their mascot, much more, and obviously Steve's roots are prog, but Marillion were very complex, even more complex even than Maiden, but never with any of that real like aggression in it. That checkerboard floor, it was teenage me thought that was one of the coolest things ever. There's a brilliant moment in Flight 66 actually where Tom Morello says that when Steve Harris is on the monitor with his bass like that, he's going to lose it. It's There's, I'm not sure. I'm sure bands were doing it, but it seems to be that one of the things Maiden did, as well as this kind of pumped up theatricality that you talked about, is they're choreographed.
Yeah, and they're all free to run about the stage because, you know, back at a time when a wireless guitar system really meant something, right? That's cool that they're not bound to their amps in 1982, right? So that they can run around and they can have the energy. And what's remarkable is they have no less of that energy today.
No, it's insane. It's insane. All right, let's get. And we all know what we're waiting.
We will live to fight another day.
I'm actually going to stop us before we get to the bit that we're waiting for because just want to pick up on the point we made earlier. The crowd gets this moment again.
Yeah.
The crowd gets this moment right before the solos.
Yeah.
This is part of Maiden's authenticity, and it's, you know, you can trust. There are only so many things you can trust in your life, and Iron Maiden's one of them. They do not disrespect their audience. Their audience loves this bit. Their audience loves the solo.
Yeah.
But they don't give the solos higher status than this moment of audience participation.
Completely. Yeah, I see that. There is no hierarchy between band and audience here. It is as functioning as one in this concert. Yeah.
And so those of you who know Spinal Tap will know that it's like the players and the fans, which is one of the jokes right at the start, but it's true, right? They're not dismissive. They want that participation here. That's what they're selling.
Totally, and that's something that I've learned and taken not beyond guitar technique or songwriting. Actually, the thing that I've learned most from Iron Maiden is showmanship and audience participation and connection, and the fact that, like, this concert isn't for Iron Maiden. This concert is for us. So it should always be about that shared experience, right?
Absolutely. Right, I've gone back a bit, so and I promise I won't interrupt the solos. I want to cry because they're just so beautiful.
Yeah.
But I actually want to cry because, like sport, like football, my sport, soccer, the degree of teamwork required for this to be executed like this is just incredible.
Yeah, totally. I want to cry because I'll never be able to play it like that.
you got pretty close, and you only had a couple of goes.
I mean, I know. I just noted a few parts. I mean, obviously, I was taking my own creative license a little bit with that solo at the beginning, but there's some licks. There's partly they are bang on, right? But they're also quite messy, and I don't mean that in a judgmental or condescending way. Like they've got there's some punky elements to it. There's that whole bit. The bit that I find hardest to replicate in that solo is in Adrian's bit, which is because he gets faster and he's being silly with it. He's being a showman, going like ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da. He's getting really, really fast with it, which is something that I can't do. I don't have the technique to do. They are. What am I trying to say? They are. I mean, it's totally unique. There isn't any guitar playing like it.
One of the things that, and we'll talk about other songs, obviously, over the coming weeks and months, but they're both so similar and yet so completely different. They always, like, I think sometimes an untrained ear wouldn't necessarily know which was which. I think Dave's a bit creamier.
Mm-hmm.
And Adrian's a bit spikier and punkier and a bit more experimental would be my broad gloss on that. Does that feel right to you?
Yeah, I'd say I'd agree, and then I'd also say in conjunction that in this, and I'm not saying this is a blanket thing for all of their playing, but in these two particular solos, Dave is definitely creamier. Adrian's a bit bluesy. Actually, he's going for some more bluesy licks. You can see where they came from. Whereas Dave's is a bit more chaotic and a bit more that whole section where he's going. I mean, he's got a creamier tone, right? So he's more like this. That bit's wild. So he's something like that. That's really weird. That's really strange. But it works. Beautifully, it works so well. The other thing to notice here, you're talking about the teamwork and the football analogy, is that what gives it space for there to be two guitar solos without us getting fatigued is the fact that they change key halfway through. They modulate up a fifth.
And you and I have tried to play this together a couple of times. We might even have another go at the end of this with people. It's just such fun to play to be the rhythm section. Because you know you're at the service of this amazing virtuosity.
Yeah.
But that you change in the middle, which gives the two solos that distinct space. So it's exactly the same pattern that's been played by the rhythm section.
Yeah.
But it changes the key it's in.
Yeah, recontextualise it to give it a new breath of fresh air to go into the new solo, and actually say it's like sort of the passing on of the baton from Adrian to Dave, right? But also in that respect, because the rhythm section are providing this supporting role, it's creating Dave his own space. It's his completely own space, which is separate to Adrian, so that we get these two different flavours and these two different ideas, and it gives it, strangely enough, compositional momentum. It's pushing us forwards the entire time.
Yeah, I've often said this to you, that but I might be wrong. Like I might be attributing something that's not there.
Yeah.
They always feel that baton, and that feels the right metaphor to me.
Yeah.
Is enormously generously given. But they never, and maybe that's just the act of where any solo needs to end.
Mm-hmm.
But it never feels like that is not given in a way which says, "I've done my bit, mate. Now your go."
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's not competitive.
No.
They want to drive one another to do better.
Totally.
But they actually want the other one to do better.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's mastery. Can we watch it again, please?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to find the right place. So forgive me if I get that wrong. Where do we reckon there? So that's what I mean. That Adrian's ending there. It's clearly an ending.
Mm-hmm.
He's not leaving Dave hanging.
Yeah. Something I've noticed, it's not about the solo, but actually I was just looking at how they're dressed there and the appearance that they're giving. Like, I wasn't there, so I don't know, but Iron Maiden in the mid-80s, a pretty shining example of what masculinity meant, right? Would you agree with that? Is that...
Yeah.
And
I know what you're going to say.
They've got long hair, they've got no beards, they look quite effeminate in a way. In the way that they're dressed, they've got tight-fitting clothes, and they're completely comfortable with their masculinity, and dressing in a way that expresses themselves. And I think that's. I was going to swear again, and I'm going to try not to. I think that's very, very cool, right? That we often look back at that era and go that it wasn't progressive as it is now, or A, and B, that rock music is exclusively for straight men, and actually I don't think that's the case, because they look absolutely slay.
Well, obviously Rob Halford is the shining example of why the rock music is inclusive, and the dress is just part of the theatricality of it.
Totally.
It's really interesting. At the time, if you went to the gig, you dressed like they did in their publicity shots. You didn't dress like they did on stage. That was
right.
It was. Everyone was aware that was pure theatricality. That was part of them putting on a costume for performance.
Totally.
And to go back to the solos, there's a lot of dive bombing in Dave's, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to explain to people who don't know what a dive bombing is?
So,
because it's become part of. I mean, it's really not even used very much in rock. It's really only used in what we would broadly call metal, right?
Totally. On this guitar, there is a what we call here is the bridge. I'm trying to do this in a way that's not technical, but basically, this piece of machinery here can bend the strings. So if I turn that up, I'm pushing this whammy bar down, right? So if I use it properly. Doesn't sound very good on my guitar because I haven't got the best control, and also different ones are built for different purposes. So the guitars that they've got, you can sweep all the way down, woo, like that. Mine can't bend that far, but that's essentially what they're doing, and it's just a really cool noise. Coined and probably made most iconic by Eddie Van Halen. Would you agree?
Maybe. I mean, comments below, but I'm going to guess Motley Crue Kickstart My Heart is the most iconic dive bend in classic rock.
Right, okay.
The intro to that, because it is the intro. She's 83. It was still relatively unknown. And one of the things that strikes me as a terribly average guitarist is there's two things that strike me about both of their solos. One is they're doing this astonishingly quick stuff, and they're super composed and relaxed. They're like, again, the sports analogy. They're just, they've practiced. They're in the moment. They're not hurried. Yeah. They're going really fast, but they're never hurried.
They're relaxed, and they've got such control, and that's something that, so we're going to discover if we do more of these, is that my technique is not that of a metal guitar player, right? I'm much more at home when I'm going like... when I'm being Nile Rodgers. Doesn't mean that I don't love this music, but I think that's going to be an interesting angle, is the fact that as we progress, I'm learning how to do this as we go. I'm not sat here going, I'm the expert. I'm learning how to do this. So those controls of those dive bombs, it's really hard. It's really, really hard, because as soon as you add loads of gain to anything, it sounds cool, but can you hear every time I move my fingers? So when I'm playing the...
that little from them is just awesome, isn't it?
It's amazing, and it's also quite crunchy. It's really, again, more noise, which is pointing to the fact that their control that they've got there is just outstanding. And the fact that they recreate that live as well, it blows my mind.
I think I hadn't seen musicians use their volume control quite as much as I had until I saw them.
Right, yeah.
But that awareness, I think they're not just using a plectrum and their left hand to on the fretboard. They're also using that tremolo bar. They're using the volume control. They're using their pedal board.
Totally.
The number of decisions going through their mind is really quite complex. And when, particularly around Dave, people will listen to an isolated track and go, "Oh, it's a bit messy." I'm like, I don't care because I just adore everything about the sound he makes. I'm emotionally connected to it. I'm not trying to mark it as a piece of mathematics. I'm trying to judge it as a piece of art.
Totally. And that's what I think, whilst we were saying at the beginning, we love all of the other Reacts 2 videos. I think an angle that I'd like to point out is that we can't quantify what they're doing in terms of they're playing a pentatonic scale, or they're up and down the fifth, or they're using palm muting, all of these things. We can use these guitar trigger words, and actually, if you're learning guitar, it's really useful to know these things. But what I think, I don't think we can add anything more to that. There's plenty of places to go and learn how to exactly play this solo note for note, which is not something I'm interested in. I'm interested in the energy and the melodic shape of things and how that makes you feel. And I can't talk to you about saying, well, if you play a pentatonic scale, that it will make you feel this, because that's not what they're doing. They're bending, they're controlling technology, they're using certain guitars, they've got amps that are really, 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 really loud, which I can't do in my home studio with next door neighbours up, down and either side of me. It just won't happen, right?
Stupid neighbours. I would say as well that what we hope to achieve is to make people enjoy the music more, and whilst enjoying music more comes from a little bit of understanding about what's being done technically, it also comes from an understanding of what's being done in narrative terms or performance terms or the context of when this was produced. So the reason I watched this so much is it was on a DVD, goodness me, completely not true. It was on a VHS. It was on a videotape that they released with 4 songs on it. I think I'm probably right. And those 4 songs were Run to the Hills, which was the Wake Out single from Number of the Beast, The Trooper, and Flight of Icarus, the other single from this album. And those 4 songs on a VHS tape at my mate's house, we watched again and again and again. There's no Spotify. There's no on demand. You couldn't just turn on MTV and see it. So it's just on that video cassette again and again and again. And that's part of my journey with this music. Anyway, should we let them wrap up for us?
Yeah, let's do it.
Feels when we come back to this motif, the gallop plus the kind of what we're going to call the Vivaldi moment is that they've wrestled back that exuberance of the solos has been wrestled back into much tighter control.
Totally. And
not for the rhythm section, I mean for the song as a whole.
Absolutely. And it's that amazing Maiden thing of I'm not going to talk about Mozart or how we write a symphony in this one. Let's talk about that another time. But it's a tale as old as time, right? Of like, here's an idea, let's develop it, let's come back to that idea at the end. And I can go into much more detail about this in another video. But I do remember very well describing to you and my auntie as we were driving up the M1 to go and see them at Download, how I likened Iron Maiden's compositional style to sonata form. And this is what's amazing about They Do Here. We've been on this journey, and we've been on this melodic, harmonic and emotional journey, right, so far up until now, and then they're just pulling it back into focus with this riff, and suddenly this riff that we had at the beginning means something completely different now to us, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if, I mean, you know, we're going to do some of these where I won't have listened to it before. I've heard The Trooper a million times. Actually, probably not a million times. I've probably heard The Trooper hundreds of times. And it still doesn't get any less meaningful when we return here, right? Whatever they're doing, they're doing it to me every time that I get back to this moment. It's amazing. That
thing you talked about perhaps not being able to write it down.
Yeah.
Like the structure. They punch you at the start, you have the call and response, you then get into the gallop of the verse, they repeat that, they then break it all out with the solos and bring you back to not the exact start, because it's not the punch of the start, it's the gallop of the start, and all this bit makes me want to do is to go to the start of the song and listen to it again.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's so good. And I love that analogy of Journey. It's, oh no, I need all those bits of the journey.
Yeah. Again, why we implore you to go and listen to this as a whole, which is obviously how this piece was intended.
Right. And listen to all the separate parts. So I've talked to you a lot about in recent years. It's partly because of Auntie Madeline's input around drums and therefore around bass. I've increased. When I started this journey, it was guitars.
Yeah, me too. When I was that age, yeah, of course.
Increasingly, in recent years, I've listened to a lot of this stuff for the rhythmic foundations,
totally,
and the melodic foundations of Steve and Nico and.
But you know what? I remember when we went to. Sorry, the name of the pub. Remind me the name of the pub in Walthamstow.
Cart and Horses.
Right, so we went to the Cart and Horses. Again, the synchronicity between that's what's in the music video. You took me there.
You heard it here first. The reason that Maiden gallop is the Cart and Horses.
Perhaps it is. I wonder, is gallop something that we've retrofitted onto them, or did they know that that's what they were doing, or is it just the groove that they found? You took me to see Iron Maiden at that venue. And they made a very silly joke about the fact that tonight they're Iron Maiden and tomorrow they're the Grease Tribute. And then started to play the beginning, that bass and drum line from the one that I want, that kind of thing. And it really hammers in the importance of that bass drummer, that bassist and that drummer are the core of any piece of music, right? And they, like, for a second, if they play different thematic material, they sound like Grease, or they sound like Iron Maiden. And that's the really important thing here, is that actually what we didn't get the first time that you or I listened to this as teenagers was how important those two elements are.
Right, and before that, I encourage you to comment below, but he's young, he wasn't there at the time, so he can be forgiven, but Steve didn't invent the gallop. Steve perfected the gallop. Maybe that's not quite the right word, but Steve's inspirations, Geezer Butler and Pete Way,
right,
are so Black Sabbath and UFO were in many ways using the gallop in different contexts, in different ways before this. I think Pete Way particularly, who was one of Steve's heroes, and maybe we'll do a UFO song at one point just to the song you played. What's the song they come on to?
I can't remember how it goes.
Right, but how does but the verse of that is pure gallop.
Yeah, it's totally.
So there you go.
Which sounds like an Iron Maiden song as well.
We'll talk about that, because I think melodically it's very different. But anyway, that's a big digression. We ought to
Let's round this up.
Let this play out.
We got to coast there and lots of fights. Where the Russian is being in sights. He pulled the trigger and I feel the blow. I must have been take my horse below.
that's fascinating, isn't it? Because the end is the start.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Which is a bluesy riff. It's a bluesy riff again. But it is, yeah, we've come that sort of full circle thing going. So we've had all of these ideas, sort of like a book. We've come in one side and then we've folded it out the other way, like a mirror in the middle, really.
Yeah, it's got that. It's quite symmetrical for Maiden.
That's the word
I think that's one of the things that makes it more accessible and therefore a gateway drug. It's verse, chorus, solo, verse, chorus.
With all of these golden gems of bits that include us, the audience, which I think is really powerful, and that's why it's a gateway drug. It's also a gateway drug because how long's that song? 3.5 minutes? 4 minutes?
4:23, 4:25. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point. It's got a classic pop song structure.
Yeah. So it's
though
you go.
Even though it's very Maiden.
Totally, yeah. Even though it's and so they're able to concentrate all of those Maiden ideas into this shorter package. However, modern pop writing songs are so short. And when I'm working in those sorts of contexts, a lot of the time I'm working with a producer, me as a musical director, an arranger, and then also with the artist. And the whole point is condense. How can we package that idea in as little as possible? Because essentially, the way that we're producing music and the things that we're looking at is time, right? We've got potentially 10 seconds on TikTok to convince someone that they need to spend 89p on our song, let alone stream it, right? So we're condensing. And this is what Iron Maiden are doing, but in the 80s here, they go, well, look, we need a single that isn't 10 minutes long. The interesting thing is when you get the 10-minute long songs or the 13-minute long songs, that they're no less impactful and they're no less powerful. They're just as good. And that's what's amazing about Maiden is that they can do either and they excel in both.
Yeah, I'd question. You're correct, of course, about everything you say contextually, but I think they probably wrote this at this length because that's how long they thought it should be. I just don't think they've ever done anything because someone was telling them to do it.
Who produced this record?
It's Martin Birch.
Right. Okay. So I don't know anything about Martin Birch.
Oh, well,
another video.
Benjamin Clark and everybody watching this, the genuine godfather of classic rock for me is Martin Birch, who produced Deep Purple and Rainbow and Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden.
Right.
And so maybe a whole episode about him, but in a nutshell, the ability to get that guitar tone, which is essential for rock, but balanced with vocal and bass and drums,
absolutely,
is just genius. I want to go back to the end of this song, though. Let's go back to where we started. Is it just live, or is it just live now with Yannick that they put the extra harmony line in the riff at the end?
It comes in halfway through, I believe, but do they do an extra one on top?
I think there's an extra one as well where they add another harmony on it. But I could be wrong.
I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't know.
And again, comments below. So, mate, that was just awesome. Like what? Like it's the Trooper by Iron Maiden, and you and I get to yak about it, and you get to play. And honestly, my joy would be if I get one more person to listen to that song with a bit more engagement. I'd have succeeded today.
Absolutely. I think we've already succeeded in discussing why we love Iron Maiden. That was almost 50 minutes that we've done there about the Trooper, and that's a 4.5 minute long song. I shudder at the thought of what happens when we discuss the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner.
Well, here's what I think we should do. That was your gateway drug. It's many people's gateway drug. I think we should go right back to the beginning and go pretty much, if not track to track, at least riff to riff, and do a reaction to Iron Maiden from the first album.
Sounds good. I'm in.
Fantastic. Keep rocking.